The world-renowned Sun City Resort in the Pilanesberg is one of South Africa's best-known tourist attractions. South Africans and international visitors flock to an impressive complex carved out of the African bush, with Sun City offering visitors a world of entertainment. For the off-road racing fraternity, a visit to the Pilanesberg means it's time once again for the Sun City 400, a race that is traditionally one of the toughest on the ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar. Facilities at Sun City are as good as you'll find anywhere in the world, with race headquarters and the pit area an impressive sight from the air.
Back on terra firma, there was a carnival atmosphere mixed with the underlying tension that is always present before the start of a race. Two factors added to pre-race tension at this year's event. First, competitors were going to be faced with a completely new route, and secondly, tight championship situations, particularly in the production vehicle category, added spice to what was round 5 of the ABSA Off-Road Championship.
After winning the Toyota 1000 Desert Race in Botswana, reigning South African champions Chris Visser and Japie Badenhorst were only half a point behind championship leaders Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson, with the Team Ford crew full of confidence.
Yeah, it's quite tough. I think there's about 21 SPs in the field, so it's going to be competition with this stuff, but I think we've got a good chance to do well because the car's good and the team is good, and I think we're feeling good.
Included in a record field of 21 cars in the Premier SP class were Pikkie Labuschagne and Rikus Erasmus, who were making their SP debut. Would they return to Class E though?
Nee, ek gaan die volle jaar klaarmaak en ek sien baie uit daarna. Ek het nog altyd in 'n SP wou wees en nou is ek hier, so ek gaan my bes te probeer.
Also back in harness in the SP class after a lengthy layoff from racing with a husband and wife team of Ramon and Maret Besaidnout.
Op die stadium is dit net 'n once-off, so ons sal kyk hoe verloop hierdie races en dan sal ons nou maar kyk met Carnival City en so aan of ons sal verder ry.
Making their Sun City debut were teenagers Jason Venter and Vincent van Allerman. Jason is the son of Class D champion Dion Venter, with the youngsters having only their second national outing.
We're just here to finish the race and get some points, and that's all.
You're going to end up with more points than your own man.
Probably, yes. It'll be funny if I beat my dad, but we're just here to have some fun.
Production vehicle leaders Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson arrived at Sun City with a lead that was tenuous, to say the least.
Yes, after 4 rounds of the series, it's good to be a half point in the lead. I was hoping to consolidate at the desert, but we had a lot of prop shaft mechanical problems. Got to the end, but it would have been I would have been more comfortable had I had a bigger lead. But it's still a nice position to be in at this stage of the race.
It was tough at the top, with only 8 points separating 6 crews at the head of the production vehicle overall championship standings.
The banter that goes with the draw for start positions on the Donaldson Prologue was again much in evidence, with a roar of delight when Anthony Taylor drew first place on the road. The Donaldson Prologue determines grid positions for the race, and the top 5 seeds go into the hat. Seedings are based on performances on previous prologues and can change from race to race.
On the Sun City 400, the 60-kilometre Donaldson Prologue was run in the Bakubang area to the west of the Sun City complex. Bakubang means hippo in English, but in late July, competitors were unlikely to find much water along the route.
The weekend was to produce plenty of drama and a few surprises, with the Atlas Copco Toyota Hilux pair of Gary Bertolt and Andre Vermeulen scoring their first Donaldson Prologue win of the season by the narrowest of margins. Bertolt and Vermeulen finished just 1 second ahead of the factory team Castrol Toyota Hilux of former South African champion Duncan Voss and Rob Howie. The pair won the Atlas Copco 400 in KwaZulu-Natal and were looking for their second win of the 2011 campaign. Third place went to Rustenburg-based Willem and Dana Voss in another Toyota Hilux, with the father and son pair making full use of a little local knowledge. Conditions also suited another father and son pair in Hichu and Jaap de Bruin, and behind them Ramon and Maret Besaidnout were not showing signs of ring rust after their lengthy layoff from off-road racing.
There were also no signs of ring rust from Pikkie Labuschagne and Rikus Erasmus, who made sure that the first 6 on the prologue were all Toyota Hilux entries. Reigning production vehicle champions Chris Visser and Japie Badenhorst were the first non-Toyota entry in 7th place in the factory team Ford Ranger TDCI. The pair were hampered by power steering problems, while behind them, veterans Hannes Grobler and Henny Terstege lost time with a wrong slot and an encounter with a tree that left the RFS BMW X3 with a broken windscreen. After a win on the first event of the season, the pair had run into lean times and were looking for a return to form.
There was a top 10 finish for Terence Marsh, who won the Sun City 400 last year with Bucks Carolyn. Marsh is this year partnered by George Swalberger, with the Regent Racing Nissan Navara pair edging in ahead of Class D leaders Bjorn Venter and Ian Palmer in the 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux. Only 20 seconds behind Venter and Palmer were Louis Weichelt and Francis Bushma in the nicely turned out N1 4x4 Toyota Land Cruiser. Charging along behind the Landy were teenagers Lance Woolridge and Ward Huxtable in the second factory Ford Ranger. Not far behind the Peter Maritzburg pair were championship contenders Thomas Rundle and Johan Moore in the Baden Tyre Services Nissan Navara, who lost time early on via a puncture. After a disappointing Toyota 1000 desert race, uppermost in the minds of the Baden pair was to bounce back with a solid performance and bag some points at least.
Also back in action after a short layoff were Mpumalanga brothers Johan and Werner Horn in the Malilan Toyota Land Cruiser. A steady run took them to 3rd in Class D, with a similar performance taking Gerald Leroux and Willem Pretorius into 1st place in Class E. The Bloemfontein-based Rubicon Ford pair came in ahead of the 4x4 Mega World Toyota of Jason Venter and Vincent van Allerman. It was another impressive showing from the rookie teenagers, with the youngsters holding off championship leaders Piet Kotze and Salomon Victor in another Toyota Hilux.
Back at race headquarters, technical crews were hard at work, and the amount of damage inflicted on vehicles during the Donaldson prologue would determine whether it was going to be an early or late night. For drivers and co-drivers, it was either all smiles or doom and gloom.
Yeah, I've got to be really happy. The ball bounced in our direction. I think we got a tight margin on the Toyota, but at this Copco Hilux definitely kept me out front there, which was a nice thing for a change. I think we needed a bit of luck to go our way.
Yeah, it was a very, very tight prologue. I mean, sometimes it's first, second for a lot of kilometers, but nice new route, very good mark. We enjoyed it. We're very happy for a good result. It's about time.
Very, very dusty out there. It's very, very tight, and the lurkers is just next to the road, tree stumps, everything. You had to drive with your head, you know, and maybe we took it a little bit easy today, but still, I think our car is in one piece. We lost a windscreen with a branch that was hanging over the road, but we're happy. I think the guy that's tomorrow going to drive with his head and his heart, maybe he's going to win.
Stunning, the car's fine. It went all very well. The race is never in the time trials, it's always in the race tomorrow. So yeah, we're starting well, 15th overall, second in class, 20 seconds behind D1, so yeah, we placed correctly, so yeah, I think it's going to be nice.
The Regent Racing team, headed up by businessman Terence Marsh, was the bearer of good news at Sun City. The 2 ex-factory Nissan Navaras, campaigned by Marsh and Mike Whitehouse, are up for sale, and with substantial backing from Imperial Automotive Retail, the Navaras are to be replaced next season by 2 new models.
Yeah, we're very pleased to be able to say to everybody that we are, as Imperial Nissan, getting involved with developing 2 new cars for next year's racing season. We're coming to the party from a sponsorship point of view and joining with the Regent Racing team. We have a long history going back probably about 12 years now, where we've been involved with support vehicles and assisting with some of the heavy commercial transport to the various races over the years. And we've taken the final plunge now to actually design 2 new vehicles with Terence and his team and the Regent Racing team next year. So we're quite excited about it. It's a new challenge and something to look forward to.
The Toyota 1000 Desert Race in June cleared a logjam at the top of the Special Vehicle Championship battle, with two Silwald crews in a strong position at the halfway mark of the season. The Sun City 400 would be important for the Silwalds and those doing the chasing, with the race also seeing a return to action of old stalwart Nardus Alberts in the Rapsa bat. Alberts and son Louis were making their first appearance of the season and looking to compete in the remaining races on the ABSA Series calendar.
Yes, I intend to do. I haven't got a good story, but I didn't do the first 4 races, but we were here for the week and I thought I'm going to do Sun City close by. So yeah, I intend to do that as well.
The Palabora-based team of Cully and Quinton Silwald won last year's Sun City 400 in the Elegant Field bat and were sitting pretty at the top of this year's championship.
Halfway through the season, so I mean, it's you can't say it's over yet. So we're just going to push on and see where we get. We're going to go for the win again, obviously. But yeah, looking forward to Sun City, a new route, new challenge. So really looking forward to a good race.
Class B Championship contenders Keith and Andrew Machanete were looking to end a run of 3 non-finishers, with driver Keith expecting the new route to provide a major challenge.
It appears so. Well, it has to be. It looks fast, the top section. I don't quite like very, very fast sections. The bottom section is fine.
Do you prefer the more technical route?
Yeah, for sure. The very fast stuff, because of our power, we don't really get going nicely. But the technical route, we can stay with all the other cars.
3 Class P teams featured in the top 10 of a Special Vehicle Championship dominated by the 2 Silwald crews, with Evan Hutchison and Dani Stassen the main danger.
The top 5 seeds in the special vehicle category also draw for start positions on the Donaldson Prologue that determines the race starting grid. As is the case with circuit racing, a good grid placing is an important ingredient for success, and fresh from a win on the Toyota 1000 Desert Race leading the championship, there was perhaps a touch of déjà vu when Cully and Quinton Silwald drew number 1 on the road. The race weekend was to throw up a number of surprises as well, and rookie driver Richard Fuller and the experienced Jeff Minute provided a portent of things to come when they won the prologue in the Atlas Copco bat running in Class P.
There was another surprise when the Cezanani Plastics porter of Brett Parker and VZ Van Sale outpaced more fancied crews to take second place and lead the Class A brigade. A career best performance from brothers David and Gary White took them to 3rd overall in the Rubicon bat, with the pair delighted with their first podium on a Donaldson Prologue.
The first of the more fancied crews were former Class B champions Johan van Staden and James Rousseau, who now campaign in Class A in a Bat Spec 5 running in Atlas Copco colours. The Pretoria crew went to Sun City with a mix of 2 podiums and 2 non-finishers and needed a good result to take their championship challenge to another level. The Atlas Copco bat was being chased by Herman and Wichard Silwald in the Silwald Racing SVR, who later described their performance as the best they'd managed on a prologue so far this season. Another surprise saw former motorcycle star Graham McLaughlin and brother Vivian finish 6th in the Connex Koila Yafofa in only their 2nd outing. In a different guise, the Connex won South African championships in the hands of Frans Chepak Jr. and Sr. Right behind the McLaughlins were Bullard Boertes and Johan Pretorius, with only 12 seconds separating the Silwards, the McLaughlins and the Boertes Pretorius bat. Next up were Nick and Ryan Harper in the Motorrad bat, who took a rather cautious approach in the long grass.
A bout of motion sickness made life difficult for Marius Fourie and his wife Yolinda as they finished more than 3 minutes behind Class P leaders Richard Fuller and Jeff Minute. There was more than a minute between the Fouries and Class P championship leaders Archie Rutherford and Mike Lawrenson in the Regent Racing Gymco, with Class B leaders Kutsia and Sandra Labuskaghni battling with a persistent misfire that plagued the Raconic Zarco.
Technicians who work on the special vehicles face the same problems as their production vehicle counterparts. An early or late night depends on the size of the problem. While the mechanics went to work, former kart racer Richard Fuller reflected on how being leader of the pack was a new experience in this form of racing.
I've been the novice that I am, as everybody says. It's still new. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. It's the first time I've been right up there in front of the frames. I think just drive our own race. We're not racing anybody in front of us. They're all SPs. So let's go out and see how it goes tomorrow. That's it.
Yeah, we had a great run today. It's been a long time coming. So yes, we had a fantastic clean run, a little bit of dust, but nice and fast in sections, and really enjoyed it. It was great.
Yes, we battled all year long, and everything came together today. We enjoyed the route thoroughly. I think a bit of disadvantage of the guys went up in front of us, but that's how it goes. That's racing, and we had a good run, clean run, and we really enjoyed it tremendously.